Many of us want the perfect body, so we'll train hard to get one. We'll work out multiple times a week, we'll run miles throughout the week, and we'll eat right to make sure that we get that body. But what about our brain? It's a muscle too, right? So we should work out our muscles just like we do our physical muscles. It's especially important to work out the brain when you prepare for large readings. Muscle reading is this idea to work out your brain. The tips and strategies can also be used in general study habits as well. So let's work out. There are three phases of muscle reading. Number one, before you read. Number two, while you read. And number three, after you read. Let's talk about the three in depth. You will need paper and pencil because I'm only giving keywords and I'll talk through what those actually mean. The first is before you read. First, preview. Before you start reading, preview the entire assignment. You don't have to memorize what you get from this step. Keep it short. Read all chapter headings and subheadings. Seek out familiar concepts, facts, or ideas which will help you link new information to things you've already learned. The next key word is to outline. With complex material, take time to understand the structure of what you are about to read. This organizes your thoughts about the assignment. It can help make complex information easier to understand. And last, before you read, question. Before you start a careful reading, determine what you want from an assignment. Then, write down a list of questions, including any that resulted from your preview of the materials. Next is phase two, which is while you read. Reflect. Before you dive into the first paragraph, take a few moments to reflect on what you already know about this subject. Do this even if you think you know nothing. This technique prepares your brain to accept the information that follows. A couple things under reflection. Avoid marathon reading sessions. Schedule breaks and set a reasonable goal for the entire session. Then, reward yourself with an enjoyable activity for 5 or 10 minutes every hour or two. For difficult reading, set more limited goals. Read for half an hour, then take a break. Most students find shorter sessions throughout the week more effective than one long session. Next, visualize the material. Form mental pictures of the concepts as they are presented. More on reflection, read material out loud, especially if it's complicated. Get a feel for the subject. If you're reading about a microorganism, imagine what it would feel like. Is it squishy? Is it hairy? This will help you remember its structure for later. And then last under reflection is to remember that a goal of your reading is to answer the questions listed during phase one. After you've identified the key questions, predict how the author will answer them. Then read to find out if your predictions are accurate. The next key word under while you read is to underline. Deface your books if you can. Use them up, have fun writing in them. The purpose of doing this is to call out information and important concepts that you will need to review later. More on underlining is that it helps by involving your kinesthetic senses of touch and motion. Being physical with your books can help build strong neural pathways in your memory. Avoid underlining too soon. Wait until you complete a chapter or a section to make sure you know the key points. You should probably underline less than 10% of the text. Place an asterisk or an exclamation mark next to especially important sentences or terms. Circle key terms to look up later in a dictionary, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Write short definitions of key terms in the margins. Write a Q in the margins to highlight possible test questions or passages that you don't understand, or things that you need to ask in class. Next is to write personal comments in the margin, points of agreement or disagreement with the author. Write many indexes in the margin, which is the number of other pages in the books that were discussed. And then lastly is to answer. As you read, seek out the answers to your questions and write them down. Fill in your outline. Jot down new questions and notes when you don't find the answers to what you're looking for. And finally, is phase 3, which is after you read. Number 1, recite. Talk to yourself about what you've read, or talk to someone else. When you're finished with the reading assignment, make a speech about it. One study showed that 80% of your time can be profitable when spent reading actively. One way to do this is to look at each underlined point. Note what you marked, then put the book down and start talking aloud. You can even do this in front of a mirror to make it more effective. Next is to review. Plan to do your first complete review within 24 hours of reading the material. A review within 24 hours moves information from short-term to long-term memory. And then lastly is to review again. The final step in muscle reading is the weekly or monthly review. This can be short, maybe only 4 or 5 minutes per assignment. Just go over your notes. Read the highlights in your text, recite 1 or 2 or more of the complicated points. This will keep neural pathways to the information open. And one more strategy. Read with a dictionary in your lap. The reading you are doing now is meant to challenge your vocabulary and help increase it. But you'll have to work a little to do this. When you come across an unfamiliar word, write it down on an index card. This way, you can look it up. If you don't have a dictionary with you, still write the word down and look it up later. But while you're reading, either divide the word into parts or infer the meaning of the words from the context. And of course, your academic coordinators are here to help you with this. So, now you know how to build your brain muscle. What are you waiting for? Get to work. Now, this is our last virtual installment of Student Success Series, Tier. But don't forget, the last volume is on site. For Edgecombe County students, we're going to meet at Edgecombe Memorial Library in Tarboro on October 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. It is mandatory. For Durham County students, we'll meet at Northgate Mall in the conference area in Area 6 on October 30th from 6 to 8. We'll wrap up the series and have your special Scholars Manual for you to stay organized for the rest of the year. See you then.